Welcome to American Education FM, everybody. I'm Dr. Sean Brooks. Ladies and gentlemen, hi. Got a few updates here. This might be a shorter episode. Not 100% sure on that, but we'll see how it goes. I'm working on something else right now, which I'll just kind of mention right out of the gate here before I get into the standard audio playing and other stories that I have to bring up here, which again are rather laughable and serious at the same time. First of all, to give everybody a brief update regarding the individual who was employed here without a background check at the local school district here in Oxford, Ohio, at the Talawanda School District, a Dr. Joseph Hall. This individual, again, was hired without a background check to be the Director of Student Services. Director of Student Services, specifically, again, regarding this school district, has to do with an individual who is in charge of 504s, IEPs, special education procedure, things of that nature. I, of course, have done a great deal of open records requests regarding this individual and know full well, having received them back, that this individual was set to receive approximately $114.4 thousand a year by the Talawanda School District, and their last place of employment was from a year ago. The interesting part about that is that on the application, which applications are legal documents, and you sign them, of course, saying that everything that you have stated in your document is in fact true, and that you are not lying, and a number of other things, he lied, as it turns out, on his application, which, given his case, should not surprise anybody. With that said, he specifically lied again about his last known place of employment, because at the very top of the application, they ask you to write in your last place of employment. And he wrote in Montgomery County Juvenile Detention Center, or Juvenile Detention Education, whatever. Turns out that's not true. He left that particular position after his little rendezvous with an alleged gay individual, where the so-called individual was not at the home address where he ended up showing up randomly during the middle of the day. Again, as a result of that, he quickly resigned his position from Montgomery County and accepted another position very quickly at Warren County, specifically rather through their Educational Services Center. Again, this individual was going to be around minors. Now, as the story went, that individual, of course, was formally employed, I should say, for approximately 1 week in Warren County in the summer of 2024, to then only be placed on paid administrative leave for a couple of months and then fired. Because, again, they conducted a background check, other individuals found out where this individual was working, and then they immediately told individuals, again, certainly within the law, that this was the case, and certainly those individuals at Warren County, again, specifically within their Educational Services Center, and then, of course, he was investigated, and then they ended up cutting him loose. So on the Talawanda application, he, of course, wrote that Montgomery County was his last known place of employment, when in fact it wasn't. It was Warren County. So he lied, and you can't lie on an application. It's actually a first-degree misdemeanor. It falls under falsification. So I've been in contact with the Brookville Police Department detective who specifically investigated the case of Joseph Hall. And according to him, he believes that Joseph Hall was there at that particular address on that particular day to have sex with a minor. He said he can't prove it. He said, but months later, after that entire investigation took place this past summer here, he ended early, it would have been a year ago, that individual again was, well, specifically the minor who was a resident in that particular home with apparently two married parents, that individual again was not only not there at the time when Joseph Hall decided to show up, but they have reason to believe again that minor was the one who initiated the contact with Joseph Hall. And they ended up apparently doing a subpoena of some phone records and or internet records, and they found pornography and child pornography potentially and other things. And he said he can't prove that Joseph Hall was there to have sex with a minor, but it certainly looks like that. And he straight up told me over the phone that there's no way that Joseph Hall belongs around minors. He just said there's a lot of smoke here, and we both know what that means. And I agreed. And so by the time that you hear this, I will have filled out a police report for falsification against Joseph Hall with the Oxford Police Department. And the Oxford Police Department doesn't have a choice because this particular detective for the Brookville Police Department in Montgomery County, Ohio, is waiting for the actual police report here from Oxford so that they can move it up to Joseph Hall's probation officer. And then Joseph Hall is fucked. So this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is the level of work that it takes to get a pedophile off of the streets, allegedly. Again, a probation violation, specifically regarding falsification, which again is a first-degree misdemeanor. It's about a $1,000 fine, give or take. It can be a number of days in jail. That would probably boost what he did from a plea agreement possibly up to a felony. We'll have to see, but either way, that's how this is all going to shake out, because this is exactly what has to happen. You have to follow up with these kinds of people, and you have to follow through on these kinds of people to make sure that the right thing happens every single time. And unfortunately, the right thing doesn't happen in many cases, and these individuals walk free, just like Jason Mers in the town where I live. This individual, again, was never arrested, and he's walking around scot-free, even though there's an ongoing Title IX investigation, which is remarkably damning, in my humble opinion. So again, with that said, this is just a level of work that it takes, and it is teamwork. It takes more than one to do this. And again, asking a lot of questions, doing the proper digging, making the right phone calls, making the right requests. And then you can get down to the crux of the matter, and then again, you can find the individuals who were initially investigating this, or certainly find individuals, again, who are interested in investigating things like this. I do want to say this, too, that not all cops are bad. I mean, the Oxford Police Department sucks in the town where I live. I have no trust in them whatsoever because I've watched how they operate. I know very recently what they've done, and it's remarkably disgusting. But there are some good cops out there who know that these kinds of people exist, and they even know that these kinds of people exist within police departments, and those good cops don't like those bad cops. So just wanted to give you a quick update on that, but Joseph Hall's about to have a real bad day. Okay, might as well stay within the school realm here, although it's sort of geopolitical as well. I have to tell you, there are a great deal of individuals who are, again, starting to figure out that these school shootings are just downright hoaxes. Yes, there are certain situations, rather, where they recruit an individual to engage in a particular activity, leading the individual to believe that they sort of, have the ability to kill people, or that they are told that they are allowed to, and then they'll protect the children, and then again they'll corner the individual with the gun, and then they use that person's death as basically a starting point for a particular story, what have you. But that may have been the case again with Nashville, because there's no proof that anybody died. And I don't have any proof, again, that the so-called shooter in that particular instance is actually dead either. I know that, again, there was body cam footage and all of that, but even so, I mean, that can be falsified as well. What's interesting, again, here about the Minneapolis thing, and again, I hate to harp on this, but it's completely false through and through. There's not a single aspect of it, in my opinion, that is 100% honest, or that any of it is actually honest. And one of the ways that you can tell, of course, is the petty nature in which the mainstream media describes some of these incidents. First of all, this is from Breitbart, and it was titled, "NBC Apologizes for Not Using She," quote unquote, to describe male Minneapolis school shooter. Because again, that's what NBC would be concerned with. It says again, NBC issues a correction Friday after having used male pronouns in its reporting to describe the trans shooter who killed 2 children and wounded 17 others. Again, there's that number 17. Rather interesting. It says other individuals during Mass at the Catholic school in Minneapolis last Wednesday. Again, they reported that the shooter changed their name from Robert to Robin at age 17, thereafter identifying as a female. Again, this is completely ridiculous, and it's such a petty story, but that right there is, again, exactly what NBC would focus on because it's about distractions. It's not about looking at actual evidence and clues to arrive at a logical conclusion. It's, just a shiny object over here that it all has to do with trannies, and it has to do with misidentifying people and a number of other things. Now, with that said, I have some audio that I want to play here, and this was sent to me by Dr. Robin McCutcheon. And Robin's going to be back on the show, I believe, for next Wednesday. We're going to talk on Tuesday afternoon, next Tuesday, and she'll be back on Wednesday. And this will probably be one of many topics of discussion, but she sent me a clip here from Joe Rambo's Rumble account and his live stream Rumble channel. And there's a clip here that he plays from a listener of their show who did kind of a little decode regarding the fake school shooting. And I have to tell you, this is interesting. It's going to be a leap for a great deal of people, but this is an interesting clip here. And I'll basically summarize it before I play it by saying this. There are clues that the good guys are giving us that indicate to us, and certainly indicate to those that are looking at it and paying attention to it, and again making some of these connections, that the good guys know that the bad guys are doing this. That the good guys know that the bad guys are using these fake school shootings as, again, a psychological operation, as a traumatic event, ritualistic trauma, the whole thing. And they're well aware. But that also means that the good guys are surveilling these people and all of the participants. And then there are ways in which they are telling us, the public, that this is fake without outright coming out and saying this whole thing was fake. So I'm going to play this clip of this woman who, again, calls into their show. And it's talking about some of these little decodes that she found and some of the things, again, that they found that are rather interesting and certainly suspicious and would indicate, again, that the good guys were basically trying to tell the public that something was going to happen that was going to be fake, and that it was probably going to lean toward a school shooting of some kind. Because again, if you're the NSA, then you've got these people's communication. Again, I guarantee that Tim Walz is being surveilled by the NSA. He has to be. The mayor of Minneapolis, same thing. Police chief, absolutely. They have a lot of these people under surveillance, digital surveillance. Again, they're tracking their phones, their private conversations, the whole thing. And of course, they're gathering up all of this treason, sedition, conspiracy to commit both, fraud, embezzlement, you name it. And again, the entire situation was remarkably hinky. But when it comes to specific school shooter policy for K12 school districts and school shooter policy regarding this particular shooting, and then, of course, the clues that were given, even out by Donald Trump himself in his his Truth account, you might find this to be, again, not believable, but, I wouldn't put it past these people. Again, it's military surveillance. And they have to have ways, again, of trying to communicate to us that this is, in fact, exactly what we think it is, which is fake. And, of course, we know that the mainstream media is a long arm of the corrupt deep state in our country, and they are not on our side. They are the enemy of the people. So give this audio a listen. Again, this was on Rambo and Friends on Rumble, and this would have been September 1st is when this was streamed. So give this a listen in 3, 2, 1.
To a caller, I actually had one that literally called my phone because they were watching the show. Can I put somebody on real quick? Sure. All right. This is probably going to surprise some people, but we have an old friend of the show that literally was watching this one and wanted to add something. Kim, do you want to say hi to everybody?
Hi, everyone. Sorry, my voice is kind of crappy. I've been sick all week.
Hey, Kim. So go ahead. Dave said hi. So I'm going to have to tell you when they talk to you because you're in my headphones. You're not out loud. But Dave and Mark both said hello. Can you tell me what you were texting me?
I was just telling you that in schools we're taught the ALICE training, and the ALICE training was actually created by someone who was involved with the Columbine High School shooting, and he was supposedly a law enforcement officer, and it was supposed to teach us a certain acronym: alert, lockdown, inform, counter, and evacuate, to kind of make everyone feel more confident and fight back, supposedly during a school shooting. And then I thought it was interesting that this year they're changing it, and it's called I Love You Guys. And it's actually from the Sandy Hook families that have now created a foundation, because it was the last text they supposedly got from their daughter that said, I love you guys. And we have a new training that is literally from those families. So we went from one school shooter to another school shooter that have created the trainings that they're teaching us teachers in school on how to handle school shootings.
Okay,
hold on. My head's about to explode. I just need to pull this up. Okay, so everyone can see this.
Go ahead.
Holy crap, dude. So in case you guys couldn't hear what Kim was saying, she's talking about ALICE training, ALICE, active shooter training, right? That's the acronym. What did I open the show with? What was that video I opened the show with, Joe?
Oh, Alice in Wonderland.
Well, no, but hold on. Hold on. The video is Alice in Chains, and it's about Trump getting shot, and he posted that 8 hours before the school shooting happened.
Yes.
Stop it.
Whoa.
Alice. Alice. Go ask Alice. Come on. This is like, it's too much. It's too much.
Wow.
12:03 a.m. on 8/27. The shooting was 8/27. Am I correct? Today's the 29th.
How many
Yes.
17s? Alice in Wonderland, Alice in Chains. And now what is it? What is the current one called now?
It's called I Love You Guys. And it's a I Love You Guys Foundation, and it's one of the Sandy Hook families. Because the daughter, that was the last text they had received from her.
Good. Wow. So I guess, so, right, so it's, all right, hold on. So he...
One of the things, it's called the perfect storm. Just letting you know that it's called the perfect storm on how to learn these. It's I guess it's like their.
Are you making this up, lady?
It's called the perfect storm protocol for active shooter.
Oh my God. So let me get this straight. Donald Trump, 8 hours before the shooting happened, posts an Alice in Chains video about shootings. Then an hour or two after, when he posts about the shooting, he hits drop 1047, which talks about a gun and spray. And they highlight the shooting as guns spraying bullets. And then all the 17 hurt. The total number at tip the mark of students in the school was 17. They have the 17 over the guy's door. Okay. Yeah, this is absolutely beyond ridiculous at this point.
Wait. And then the current program is called I Love You Guys. And what the hell was the perfect storm comment, Kim?
The perfect storm is saying that it's a perfect. They're just saying this basically they're essential blocks, but like one of the key points it says it's the perfect storm on how to fight back. One of the essential building blocks, but they literally have a bullet points called like the perfect storm, and it's it says their professional careers and their passion. This was like the perfect storm for them to create this.
Holy crap! Wait, here, she's not wrong. This is ridiculous, dude. Wait, let me get the right.
As soon as he
this is it.
Turned to liquid.
This is iloveyouguys.org, the creator of it. Perfect storm. Come on, guys.
Come on.
Yep, and that's our SRP for the year, response protocol. That's what we have to use for any of our drills that we use. It's like a standardized language where it's like hold, secure, lock down, evacuate, and shelter.
The end result has been a perfect storm for advancing student and school safety.
Yeah.
I need to go to bed.
That's unbelievable. So
My
funny.
head hurts.
So as you might expect, this can be taken a couple of different ways. A person might hear that and they might say to themselves, well, all of those well-placed truth posts and sort of that coded language, again playing Alice in Chains, specifically, again, Alice sometimes referring to Hillary Clinton, but also potentially referring to Alice training. And then, of course, that happening 8 hours before an alleged lockdown based on an alleged school shooting. And a number of things, who's to say? I understand some people would say, again, it's far-fetched, but if you have the NSA behind you, then you know what these people are doing and what these people have planned before they do it. I mean, the NSA, theoretically, is pre-crime. It's already a pre-crime technology that exists and surveillance apparatus that exists. And as we know, FISA warrants go both ways. There's no way that after the 2020 fiasco, they don't have Tim Walz's again, entire whatever. All his technology, all of his communication devices completely under a FISA warrant in order to surveil him. The same thing is true with the mayor of Minneapolis. These guys knew what was going to happen before it happened. They were involved, and it's quite possible here we were just given a head nod by Donald Trump, and certainly those, again, running this operation as to what was really going on. Again, with that said, I find it interesting that the origins of the Alice training come from the so-called Columbine school shooting, and police officers, again, directly affiliated with that. Regarding this particular organization or foundation, the I Love You Guys Foundation, it says here, the perfect storm, Ellen and John Michael Keyes devoted their skills in design and packaging, and critical thought. Their 25-year professional careers proved essential building blocks for the foundation, and their passion is a beacon. Because of circumstance, they are also invited into conversations not typically open to private citizens. But it didn't stop there. The I Love You Guys quote-unquote foundation also began to solidify a strong, diverse bond of directors, and the volunteer base checked in with the knowledge pool and skill sets. First of all, that's a very poorly written paragraph. It's poorly written. And the looks on these two individuals' faces, they don't have a truth-telling style, in my opinion, just the way that they look. This website, by the way, is poorly built. I would sort of put that out here also. But again, they have what's called standard response protocol, standard reunification method, reunification exercise, training and events, tender loving care, other projects we're handling with a little TLC, and partner with love. Together, we're a powerful conduit that unites. This is a highly suspicious website. And again, why anybody would believe this, again, let alone that, well, it's just odd. I'll just put it that way. It's beyond strange. In fact, let me add this. At the very bottom of the website, on the main page here, certainly on the About section, if you scroll all the way down, you can see, of course, all the faces of all the players, meet the board of directors, meet the staff, and all these other just goofballs. But if you keep going down, it shows something that seems rather suspicious that I don't think you would want to even have on your website. At the very bottom, it says visitors and their downloads. Then it has a map of North America and the United States. And it says, quote, the I Love You Guys Foundation website is used by thousands of people a week to advance their readiness and response. This map shows visitors who have downloaded our materials since last Sunday. Now there are some caveats. We're basing location based on we're basing location on the visitor's IP address, so sometimes the location is way off. Cellular data connections might originate in Placitas, New Mexico, but may resolve to an IP address in Dallas, Texas. More browsers are obfuscating IP addresses, and it says our crack software development team make assurances that is the best they can do. That doesn't make any sense. I don't even know why they would even put that on there. They're basically saying, well, look, people are downloading our stuff, but we're not entirely sure where these people are coming from, but we're basically going to make some educated guesses as to where these downloads and these IP addresses and these calls are coming from. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that it's a group like this I Love You Guys group, that is actively calling in school hoaxes, certainly the ones that are hitting the mass alert systems, like the emails and the text messages and the phone calls and all of that. There's no reason why these individuals wouldn't be directly involved in that. Again, if you look at their faces, they're highly suspicious. Not to mention they're all communists and they're all leftists, which means, again, if they want to get their policy, which is completely made up and totally fabricated, if they want to get their policy within schools, why would they not use chaos and confusion in order to sell their product? Why would they themselves not be behind the very hoax calls that make their way to schools in the first place? And certainly, again, law enforcement that works with these individuals to do such a thing. I wouldn't put it past them. Now, let me move on to this. Again, kind of a run-of-the-mill story here, but not unusual, because like I've said before, these people are digging in like ticks, specifically, again, when it comes to sexual perversion and a number of other things. It doesn't matter what state law says. It doesn't matter what executive orders are written. This right here, again, is the school environment, and this is how crazy these people are. This was from Gateway Pundit, and it was titled, Ohio School Official Appears to Coach Parents on Circumventing State Laws to Put Male Trans Student on Girls' Team. Again, people have to understand that this whole trans thing, this boys playing in girls' sports thing, is sexual perversion. It is pedophilia. It is, again, minor attracted person stuff. It's grooming. It's sexual grooming. It's all designed, again, to confuse minors in the interest, ultimately, of taking advantage of them sexually. As if to say, well, look what we did. We got you on the girls' team and you owe us one. Now let us rub you, on certain parts of your body because that's what we really want to do and that's our main motivation. That's what these people don't understand. And again, unfortunately, there are people on, whatever you want to call it, both sides of the so-called political paradigm that seem to not understand the severity of it, that it goes beyond just cheating or pretending that an individual is a girl when in fact they are not. It has to do with sexual perversion. It has to do with sexual grooming for the ultimate purpose, again, of abusing them sexually. That's really the point. Yes, it's about normalizing these perversions as well, which, of course, the long game on all of that is to normalize that into lawmaking, so that laws are actually written to solidify these kinds of perversions into the mainstream and into society. But here's what this particular story says. Again, it says, Accuracy in Media has released a disturbing video that appears to show an Ohio school official coaching parents on how to circumvent laws keeping girls safe by keeping boys out of girls' sports and spaces. It says in 2023, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine vetoed House Bill 68, which sought to prohibit gender-affirming care for minors and to restrict transgender athletes' participation in girls' and women's sports. Last year, the state Senate voted to override DeWine's veto, but that didn't stop an Ohio school official from brainstorming ways to bypass the law. The video shared by Accuracy in Media shows undercover investigators posing as prospective parents of a trans student meeting the Princeton City Schools Assistant Athletic Director, Tamit Duckworth. I'm saying that right? The video shows Duckworth strategizing with investigators to help the alleged transgender student join the girls' team, or teams rather, and access female facilities. Again, this is Princeton. Looks like Princeton High School. Could be down the street from where I live because Princeton is in the general Cincinnati area. With that said, again, this is the assistant athletic director, Tamet Duckworth, I believe is how you might say her name. Either way, I would play the audio, but it's a little muffled. Either way, they have about 2 minutes of them talking to her, and she's basically saying, look, just as long as the boy who's pretending to be a girl isn't telling anybody that he's a boy, then there's no problem. As long as, well, even though that it says that it's a boy on the birth certificate, basically, we won't share the birth certificate with anybody if anybody asks because that's private information and that's not for anybody to know. So again, they're basically allowing it to happen until they get caught. But then they're like, well, if we get caught, well then, there's not a lot we can do after that. But again, this is an individual who is 100% fine and openly admitting to attempting to circumvent the law. This is going on all over the United States on a day in and day out basis in American schools. Constantly. Now, again, speaking of things that are going on a constant basis in American schools, they're going broke. And, of course, they have massive deficits in the millions in many cases, and they're looking for levies as well, certainly with this upcoming election. This is from St. Landry Parish, Louisiana, from the, let me see here, Academia, if I'm saying that right, the Academia Advocate. It is titled, St. Landry Parish School Board Faces $7.9 million Deficit Fueled by Population Loss to Charters. Whoops. They don't like your system anymore, so they're leaving. And you're having a hard time making ends meet. Shocking. The St. Landry Parish School Board is facing $7.9 million budget shortfall despite efforts to reduce costs. The board will meet Thursday in an attempt to wrangle in the budget driven mainly by increased payments to a growing number of charter schools and continued decline of student populations. Superintendent Milton Batiste III said it is ultimately up to his board to find the best way to balance the budget, stopping short of directly calling for staff cuts. Well, as it turns out, that's the first thing you're supposed to do. And of course, stop stealing and stop having school districts pay for everybody's cell phones and gasoline and automobiles and all this other nonsense that all of these school districts do constantly. He said, quote, we still have to continue to make sure that our staff population aligns with our student population, Batiste said. I can't speak on it because it's a board decision, but I do know we have to continue to have future planning conversations, whether that's some consolidation with building or schools, or there's some consolidation of staff. Yes. Sell the buildings, sell the property. That's how you fix a lot of this. Again, I said it a long, long time ago on this show, that you sell these schools and they turn into mental institutions. The irony of that, because they already are mental institutions. But when you sell them, the medical industry in many cases will buy them up and quite specifically and literally turn them into actual mental institutions. Wouldn't that be neat? Again, rumor has it Donald Trump wants to make mental institutions great again. Well, let's take some of these vacant schools and turn them into that, even though, again, they ironically already are. It said in February, the board voted in favor of closing schools plagued with declining populations. It says the district projected that the move would save it around $2.5 million a year. Batiste, who was told by state officials, told earlier this year that his parish operates too many schools, hinted at the February meeting that continued discussion of consolidations and closures was likely if student population numbers didn't improve. Any savings in response to those discussions were wiped out by decreased payments the district is required to make to charter schools. From last school year to now, payments to charter have ballooned by 128%, costing the district more than a projected $8.9 million. Get in line. Get in line. I don't think anybody even cares that these public schools are really losing money because they're choosing again to send their children to other places. In fact, let me describe this clip real quick. This is kind of interesting. This was sent my way by Outcast of the Dangerous Info podcast. And it's disturbing, to say the least, and it shows, again, the disturbing behavior of the people who can work inside of these buildings. It's some kind of I don't have all of the specifics, but it was some kind of a parent-student walkout having to do with a school that was allowing, of course illegally, allowing a male to use the female locker rooms and female bathrooms. And so, in protest, instead of doing the thing that I've suggested from the start, which is they all unenroll their children all at once. Again, if they do that, then that sends the message. Not to mention, if you do that, that bankrupts the school, and then, of course, you can kill two birds with one stone. However, they decided to organize a walkout in protest of this particular tranny, pretending to be something they're not. And on film is a school employee, a school teacher, female school teacher, recording these parents outside of the building during this protest and berating the parents for not accepting the male student for pretending to be a female. I mean, it's absurd. And then, of course, she's being recorded by one of those individuals as well, and it's just kind of this constant recording back and forth. Everybody's got a cell phone in their faces kind of thing. And it's it's the furthest thing from learning that it actually exists on the face of the planet. Again, that if we don't cater to their mental illnesses, if we don't cater to their perversions, if we don't cater to this, that, and the other, then there's something wrong with us. I don't think so. Make mental institutions great again, 100%. It has to happen. Now, I've got some audio, and this is, again, right up everybody's alley. You talk about mental institutions. You talk about, again, audio and full-blown proof of lying and cheating and a number of other things, and, of course, the entire medical industrial complex and everything. HHS Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. was testifying, and he was testifying again over the, whatever it is, Health Oversight Committee or something along those lines. This committee, ladies and gentlemen, is made up of the most brain-dead Democrat senators you've ever heard of in your life. And of course, even those on the right don't know what the hell they're talking about either. So he's up there and he's openly saying, again, calling out all their corruption, and as you would expect, they're all believing the COVID lie. Are you trying to tell me that the COVID shots didn't save anybody's lives? And he goes, I don't have any evidence that it did. And then, of course, he's asked by Senator Warner, who's dirtier than hell. He openly goes, well, are you trying to say that, or what did he say? I'll play it for you, but he openly said, you don't know how many people died of COVID? And he goes, I don't think anybody knows. He goes, so you're the director of HHS and you don't know how many people died of COVID? And he's like, you don't either. I'm going to ring all these audio clips off because, again, they are mind-numbing. Keep in mind, this is the education system, every place of employment, they all went along with this huge lie. And now this lie is being peeled back one layer at a time. Some layers are getting peeled back faster than others, but some people are so hell-bent on continuing to believe the lie that they don't care how foolish they sound in the middle of being exposed, because literally in their own minds, they don't think they're foolish. So first of all, here's an exchange between Senator Hassan, who's a complete lunatic, and RFK. Give them a listen in 3, 2, 1.
The FDA, why you unilaterally changed the parameters for giving vaccines, making it possible now, to Senator Cassidy's colleagues' points, that they're going to have to go off-label.
This is crazy talk. You're just making stuff up.
To prescribe a vaccine for children. I'm not making things up. Do you know how the FDA approval process works and what happens?
I know exactly.
Do you know what an off-label prescription is?
I know exactly how it works. It works.
So why behind closed doors?
It's not behind closed doors. The industry makes the studies, and they could not provide a study that said that it is effective for healthy kids.
So when have you produced the data that you relied on and that this FDA relied on to change those parameters? You did it behind closed doors.
No, the data is all public.
Now parents who decide that they do want their children to have
You're just making stuff up, Senator.
I'm not
You're just making stuff up.
You know, sometimes when you make an accusation It's kind of a confession, Mr. Kennedy. So let's just settle with this. So here's what's going to happen. To Senator Warner's point, to the parents who are concerned all around the country, to people who want to get the COVID vaccine this fall, even if they're under 65, because the boosters have worked, there's been much less serious disease. People do not have the same level of threat and risk from COVID that they used to because of these vaccines. People who want to exercise their freedom of choice are being denied that because you are citing data that you won't produce to the public. And you are rejecting
You're
science.
making things up to scare people, and it's a lie.
With respect, I do not think I'm the one making things up.
You are lying right now, Senator.
The vaccines work. It doesn't matter how many times I say it. The vaccines work. It could be 100% false, but if I say it a lot of times and I yell it in a microphone, well, then it must be true. The boosters work. It's been proven to decrease illness. Every word she's saying is a lie. Every word, including about, again, policy. You're going to take these shots away from people. If a person wants to go pharmacy hopping and bounce from one pharmacy to the next, injecting themselves with everything from here to Timbuktu, they have the freedom to do that. They also have the freedom to die on the spot, which, again, has happened. They've fallen over, dead, right after receiving the shot in these pharmacies or wherever they get them. Doesn't matter the brand either. Here's the next clip. This is Senator Michael Bennet. He's arguably one of my least favorite. This guy used to be a superintendent in the state of Colorado. So that should tell you plenty. But again, he's arguably one of the dumbest humans that exists. I'm shocked this guy can even tie his shoes, let alone a necktie. Give him a listen in 3, 2, 1.
You describe people moving the Titanic.
Are you saying that a mRNA vaccine has never been associated with myocarditis or pericarditis in teenagers?
I am simply.
Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I am simply trying to say that the people that you have put on that panel, after firing the entire,
you're evading the question.
No, I'm asking the questions here.
You're
Mr.
evading
Kennedy.
that question.
I'm asking the questions,
I
Mr.
asked
Kennedy.
You a question.
I'm asking the questions for Mr. Kennedy on behalf of parents and schools and teachers all over the United States of America who deserve so much better than your leadership. That's what this conversation is about, Mr. Chairman.
Senator, they deserve the truth, and that's what we're going to give them for the first time in the history of that agency.
And they're not going to accept the truth. They will not accept it. Their cognitive dissonance is too thick. It's far too thick. If they accepted the truth, school nurses would be killing themselves left and right for what they've done throughout their entire career. School employees for all the things that they've said during the last 4 or 5 years, 5 years in particular. They'd all be killing themselves if they came to grips with what they were actually responsible for. They're not going to accept it. They will bury their heads in the sand, put their fingers in their ears. They don't want to see it, hear it. They don't want to be a part of it. Not to mention they're so easily manipulated on a year in and year out basis. Certainly, again, regarding fake school shootings and changing policy all of the time and everything else. It wouldn't be any different than any other form of manipulation that they've had to experience, because that is the business, along with, again, every other line of work. Now, here's the last audio clip. This is Senator John Cornyn, Republican, Texas. He, of course, is going to lose his position coming up here because, well, he's feckless. But he asks, again, a very basic question. And Kennedy answers it. Were we all tricked? Were we lied to about particular things? You sure were. Give him a listen in 3, 2, 1.
Do you believe COVID-19 was politicized?
Yeah, the whole process was politicized. Senator, we were lied to about everything. We were lied to about natural immunity. We were lied to about, we were told again and again the vaccines would prevent transmission, they prevent infection. It wasn't true. They knew it from the start it wasn't true because that's what the animal studies and the clinical trials showed. We were told that there was science behind cloth masks. The CDC allowed the teachers union to write the order closing our schools, which hurt working people all over the country, and then pretend it was science-based. All of these issues, and then I can show you, like, for example, Chairman Wyden was talking about me politicizing ACIP, but during COVID, probably the most famous scientist on ACIP was Martin Kulldorff from Harvard, the great, world-renowned epidemiologist and vaccinologist. And he criticized the COVID booster mandates. They ejected him from COVID because he wasn't in the orthodoxy. The two biggest health officials at FDA during COVID, Dr. Gruber and Dr. Krause, criticized the Biden mandates, vaccine mandate. President Biden said in August, I would never take that vaccine, the Trump vaccine. And he came in, he mandated it, and then he fired the two top health officials at FDA who said, hey, this thing has not been properly tested.
That's right, because of course you fire people when they openly say, hey, wait a minute, slow down, something hasn't been looked at properly, something hasn't been properly tested. And firing that person isn't suspicious to anybody. That's just standard procedure. Well, this person's asking too many questions. Well, we don't do that around here in the medical business, so be gone with you. And then they cut them loose and no one says bupkis about it. They just turn a blind eye. I have to tell you, this is a big, big deal what's going on right now. So for people, again, to be sitting around, stroking their egos and openly saying, well, nothing's happening. No one's waking up. Nothing is happening. RFK is taking the slings and arrows for everybody who knows exactly what's going on here and has known for decades what's been going on. We've been well aware here for a long time. Some of us, anyway. I mean, people are waking up a little bit at a time, which is great. Every needle is poison. Every single one. Why do you think even Donald Trump calls the Ozempic shots and, the Wegovy and, all those shots for weight loss? Why do you think he calls them the fat shots? Have you heard him say this? He goes, some people like taking the fat shots. He says it that way to try to wake people up, as if to say, don't do that. It's not exactly complimentary. It's not complimentary to the person who takes them, and it's not complimentary to the medical industry who makes that poison. That's why he calls them the fat shots. He's ridiculing it, and the people who take it. It's all intentional. This is the Great Awakening. This is the wake-up process. This is a good thing. I'll end with this. Little interesting tidbit here from Dr. Andrew Kaufman, who I greatly admire. Again, he knows viruses are a lie. He also knows a great deal about the medical industry that is a complete lie. This has to do with blood donation. He said the following on Telegram, quote, donating blood has been sold to the public as an act of charity, a way to save lives, quote unquote, and do good for humanity. But the truth is far more disturbing. While most people believe their donations go directly to patients in need, the reality is that blood, especially plasma, is one of the most profitable commodities in medicine. Only a fraction is ever used for emergency transfusions or patient care. The rest, up to 80%, is siphoned into the biotech and pharmaceutical pipeline, sold to private corporations, whom turn it into billion-dollar products. This isn't a system of altruism, it's a system of exploitation. The public is encouraged to give for free, quote unquote, while the industry makes unimaginable profit selling what was freely taken. Once again, the vulnerable are deceived into believing they are helping when in reality, they are feeding a machine that thrives on endless extraction of the human body, unquote. He's 100% right. That describes the entire medical industry in a nutshell. It's not really healthcare, as we all know. It's sick care. And they're not the only corrupt business around. I know that's rhetorical and, an obvious statement, but that's the way that it is. So again, this is a good thing. All of this being exposed is a good thing. And for people to, again, just be sitting around on the back end and without, of course, lifting a finger and saying, well, we just want arrests. I want to see a public execution. Look, you have to wake people up to this first. RFK Jr. just said it right there. This has never happened before. We're doing something that's never happened before. Yes. Yes. That's why you're seeing, again, senators on the right ask these milquetoast questions, albeit, kind of serious, certainly, and giving RFK the opportunity to talk. But the ones on the right, they're flipping out because they got caught and they don't want to be wrong because there's a lot of blood on their hands. They got a lot of people sick. They got a lot of people dead just from speaking and saying the things that they say even today in a hearing like that. So I'm going to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Kind of a short one. Had one hell of a busy day. Trust me, a day will come when I'll be able to tell you what happened today. But with that said, good news. Good news abound. Have a great weekend. Thanks for listening as always, and I'll catch you on Monday. Peace. Thank you for listening to American Education FM. Make sure and check out AmericanEducationFM.com for more information. Take care and God bless.